Good evening, everyone. My name is, as previously mentioned, my name is Jaines Andrades. I am a nurse practitioner for Baystate Trauma Team. And the topic of alcohol and especially drinking as we get older is something that I find really important in my line of work, just because, I'm taking care of patients who are hurt in various ways, whether it's a car accident, or a fall off of a ladder. And I just recognize the importance of education and the community knowing the effects of alcohol as we age. I just want to give the disclaimer that the goal of this talk is not to be judgmental at all. It's just purely to provide information so that you can make the best decisions and make informed decisions in, your day-to-day activities. I know that drinking is definitely a very social activity. So again, the goal isn't to say never drink. It's just to say, hey, here's some information so that you can make an informed decision. So just an overview. When I originally gave this talk, it was actually to community members in Ludlow at the Ludlow Senior Center. And so I just found it, again, really, really interesting how much drinking is really a part of people's day-to-day activities. You get home from work, you grab a glass of wine and drink wine while you eat or while you're cooking, or if you're getting together with friends. And particularly, again, there are a lot of changes that happen as you age and how alcohol affects that. So just for a little statistics and a little bit of overview, approximately 50% of individuals who are over the age of 65 report drinking in some way. Older adults may drink at social gatherings to improve their moods or to alleviate symptoms such as insomnia. Some seniors even believe that alcohol can have positive health benefits. And again, it's important to note that this discussion aims to provide information rather than to criticize or judge. So what are the statistics for alcohol use in our aging population? So according to the National Survey on Drug Health, Use and Health conducted in 2019, adults age 65 or older, 55.2 reported drinking alcohol in one way or another in the last month. Among those who reported drinking, 70.6 reported drinking at a moderate level, which would be 1 to 2 drinks a day, while 29% reported drinking at a high level, which would be 2 or more drinks a day, which is a pretty good statistic to say that most people as they age are drinking responsibly, saying that 70% of them fall in the moderate level of drinking. And then of those who fall in the level of high drinking, 25.2 reported binge drinking or drinking 5 or more drinks in one occasion. So regardless of the age, as we age, though, the potential risk associated with alcohol use increase, especially for those who take medications or have medical conditions. So this emphasizes the importance of monitoring and limiting alcohol consumption in older adults or as we age. So we'll look at the recommendations for alcohol use. The National Institute on Alcohol Use and Abuse and Alcoholism recommends that patients over the age of 65 should not exceed 1 drink a day for women or 2 drinks a day for men. And I'll speak in the next slide what 1 drink of alcohol, what that entails. So again, however, even low amounts of alcohol can be risky in older adults, especially those with underlying conditions or those taking medications. So as I mentioned, we have here what's considered a standard drink. And what I think is really important about this slide is to say many times we go out to eat, or again, we're in a social gathering and we get a glass of beer or a glass of wine. And many times what we're actually getting is maybe one glass of beer, but 2 servings of alcohol. And I'll explain what I mean here. The volume of liquid in your container, whether it's a glass, can, or bottle, may not accurately reflect the amount of alcohol in your drink. Variations in alcohol content can be found in different types of alcohol, including beer, wine, or malt liquor. Alcohol content refers to the amount of pure alcohol, or something we call ethanol, present in a particular beverage. In fact, there's variation in alcohol contents within the same kind of beverage. For example, light beers may contain less alcohol content than a dark beer. So here we see what a standard drink is. For a regular beer, again, it would be different for IPAs or light beers, but for a regular beer that has an alcohol content of 5%, the standard drink size would be 12 ounces. And again, we can go to dinner and order a beer, and what we get is a 16-ounce glass or a 20-ounce glass, and that's already, 1.5 to 2 servings of alcohol. We also see here for wine, for a glass of wine that has an alcohol content of 12%, a standard serving would be 5 ounces. And again, I bring up the example for dinner because I think it's something, obviously all of us do. When we're sitting there and we're ordering a drink, you're not paying attention to, okay, I have a glass of wine, then that's one drink. No, that one glass of wine could be considered 2 drinks. And then for shots or distilled spirits that have an alcohol content of 40%, a standard drink would be 1.5 ounces. So what are the effects of alcohol as we age, and how do these effects change the older we get? So the first thing that happens is our body's ability to metabolize or get rid of alcohol decreases due to changes in liver function as we age. This leads to higher blood alcohol levels and a greater risk of alcohol-related harm, meaning it takes less alcohol to have the same effect. Maybe in your 20s, a glass of wine really didn't do much, but now you're 80, 85, and that same glass of wine can really cause you to be intoxicated. Another thing that kind of contributes to the change in how alcohol affects us as we get older is that our body composition changes. There's decreases in muscle mass and increase in fat. And this also affects how alcohol is distributed in the body. As a result, older adults may experience a range of effects from alcohol consumption, including impaired coordination and balance. And if, as we get older, our coordination and balance already, decreases and is more difficult. And then if you add alcohol on top of that, there's huge risk for falls. And another effect is worsening of chronic health conditions such as osteoporosis, diabetes, high blood pressure. There's an increased risk for stroke, gastric ulcers, memory loss, and there's also the risk of interactions with medications. Due to the things that I said above, such as, decreased liver function, the change in body composition, another thing that's different as we age and drink alcohol is you're more likely to take more medications as you get older, and these medications can alter the way your body breaks down alcohol, leaving you with a worse hangover. So these are a list of just some common medications that you may start taking as you age for a variety of reasons. Coumadin or warfarin, which is a blood thinner, which can be taken in different heart conditions and clotting issues. Alcohol has a big interaction with Coumadin. Metformin, which is used for diabetes. Lisinopril as well is used for hypertension. And the big thing, for example, with metformin is alcohol consumption as we get older can mimic low blood sugar. So patients, again, our community members are all at a higher risk of falling just because if you drink alcohol and you're a diabetic, it mimics the signs and symptoms of low blood sugar or hypoglycemia. You get dizzy, tremulous, start, kind of not being able to walk appropriately. And those are all risks as we get older. Metoprolol is a medication that's used for heart rate and blood pressure. And again, it's kind of the same things that if you're going to have an adverse reaction from these medications, it's going to be blunted or it's going to be hard to tell, is it that I'm having an issue with my metoprolol, or is it that, these symptoms are due to alcohol? So on this slide here, we're just going to discuss the benefits of adopting a healthier approach to drinking. There are numerous potential justifications for adopting a healthier approach to drinking. And what I mean by that is a healthier approach to drinking is, again, making an informed decision. Now that you know what a standard drink size is, going to that restaurant or telling your friend, or if you're pouring the drink yourself, making sure that you're well aware of what you're drinking is what I mean by a healthier approach. Now you'd have more information, and again, you can make an informed decision. But some of the benefits of adopting this approach would be reducing morning after grogginess or sickness or the hangover. Rekindling enjoyment in previously enjoyed activities, eliminating embarrassment related to behaviors while drinking, and preserving healthy relationships with friends and loved ones. And again, it's stressing that it takes much less alcohol as we get older to make us have adverse effects. And again, it just puts us at a much higher risk. It's very different to drink at 25 than it is to drink at 85. Other benefits would be reducing the risk for falls and injuries, managing your diabetes or high blood sugar, drinking or having safer drinking habits also helps to reduce blood pressure. It also helps maintain proper liver function so that as we age, we know that our organs start to little by little kind of slow down. And, having healthier drinking habits will help keep your liver at its optimal range as long as it's possible. Obviously, healthier drinking habits would lead to avoiding legal issues or endangering yourself or others while driving under the influence. This is something that, I see all the time in my line of work are the negative effects of drinking. People, having a couple beers and then climbing up a ladder and falling off. Or again, having a couple drinks and maybe, when you were younger, again, that wouldn't affect you. But now that you're older, you get in a car with your friend or you get in the car just to drive home and you get in a car accident where you could injure yourself or someone else. And it's something, it's a trauma that for us is preventable. It's easily fixed by better information and making, better decisions. And again, we're doing all of this to avoid harm and to make sure that, again, we're not causing issues due to something that's really in our control. And I think it's interesting sometimes to look at the marketing for alcohol, and it's very alluring. But again, that's one side of it. The other side is that alcohol can, cause liver failure along with injury. And that is my talk. I'm open to answer any questions.
Sorry, it took me a minute to get back on there. Thank you, Jaines. That was really great. I appreciate that. Clearly, you see a lot of things in your area. Mm-hmm. So we've opened it up the Q&A for any questions that anybody may have. And I do see that they're starting to come in. So first question, are the medications shared in the list the riskiest meds to mix with alcohol, or just the most commonly prescribed medications?
They're the most commonly prescribed. And I would say something like Coumadin or any anticoagulant, those are the most risky to mix with alcohol, in the sense of increasing your risk for bleeding. So you're already on a medication that thins your blood, and then drinking alcohol also has a similar effect. So it's kind of like you're putting two things together to thin your blood. So I would say Coumadin or any anticoagulant is a big no-no. But the other medications, metoprolol, metformin, those are just common medications that a lot of people are on. So that's why I selected those.
Excellent. Thank you. The next question, do you have any advice for talking to seniors about their drinking?
I think the biggest thing is coming from a space of non-judgment, because people may be very sensitive about the topic. So I think kind of gauging what they know about their alcohol use and what their perception about their alcohol use would be the best place to start. Because, some people are 100% honest, and they're like, I have, I'm going to drink until I die. So there's nothing that you can do to tell me different. But there are people who genuinely don't understand that they even have an alcohol use disorder, or that they have been over drinking. So I think the first step would be to just gauge, to know what they think their alcohol intake is and how they view their relationship with alcohol, before kind of, putting things out there like, you drink too much, or kind of gauging what they think, and going from there. Because again, a lot of people don't know that they're over drinking. Again, if you go to the store and you grab a can of beer, you're thinking that can of beer is one serving. And that can of beer can be, depending on the size, can be 4 servings. So again, making sure that you understand what that person understands about their use, I think, is the most important, or a good place to start.
Okay, great. Thank you. The next question. Jana would like to know, does alcohol use affect the pancreas?
It can over time, and heavy alcohol use, definitely. Yes. You see things like pancreatitis or alcohol-related pancreatitis, which would be as a result of drinking. Absolutely. Yeah. Your alcohol use over time can affect your kidneys. Again, it can affect your heart. That's why it's just so important to be aware and educated when you do it.
Excellent. Thank you. Next question. Do you have any information on how long people have been drinking in the 50% statistics that you gave? This person embraced sobriety a year and a half ago, and they feel better. Mm-hmm. And they say that their drinking had increased to the over drinking level. Mm-hmm. Measure, and she feels like the topic of measures of alcohol was a great point. So the question was, any information on how long people have been drinking in the 50% stats that you gave?
When I looked at that particular study, it didn't say how long. It just kind of was a number of people 65 and older. These are how many people report drinking. And again, I was extremely excited to find out that 70% of people who drink over 65 are on average only having a drink or two a day, which is, it was awesome to just find out that the people who are drinking over 65, for the most part, are drinking responsibly. And congratulations to you for your sobriety. That's awesome.
Totally. Thank you. Next question. Have you seen an increase in drinking problems during the pandemic?
I think I can say, like, anecdotally, like my experience, yes. I don't off the top of my head know the statistics of like how many alcohol related traumas we had in, let's call it 2020. But I think, yes, just, kind of thinking overall, I wasn't a nurse practitioner. I became a nurse practitioner in 2020 in trauma. So my experience with trauma is during and post COVID. And I could say that I think in 2020, it did feel like maybe there was more of an uptick in alcohol related issues, but I don't have the exact statistics on that.
Thank you. At what age, next question, sorry, at what age does the impact of alcohol change?
I think immediately, right? And I think it's kind of funny because, there's a joke, like after 30, then, the bounce back isn't the same. I think the effects of alcohol change immediately. How much you're able to drink and kind of bounce back in your 20s definitely decreases in your 30s. And I would say probably the biggest change, or where we really have to start looking at it, is when, getting 65 and older, just because there's already so many risks in that population due to aging in and of itself, that you add something else, and the risk of injury or the risk of effects is so much bigger, just because, you've been around for 65 years and your body has been enduring and recovering for so many things for so long. 65 and older is where we really worry, but I would say that the effects of alcohol and, aging are immediately. The more you age, the more it affects you.
Thank you. That was a great question.
That was a great question.
So I don't see any more questions. So, no, I'm sorry, there is another one. We'll keep the Q&A open until there aren't any. But this one is there a hangover cure for seniors?
Not specifically. I don't think there's a hangover cure, period, even though it's marketed in that way. The biggest thing that alcohol does is it dehydrates you and lowers your blood sugar. So I think maybe they're not the cure, but prevention would be hydration, drinking water, electrolytes. So something like Gatorade, Pedialyte, something like that, kind of filling your reserves before you drink will help minimize the hangover. But there's never, a guarantee that if you do these things, if you hydrate and if you eat and if you take electrolytes, you won't get a hangover. But those are things that can kind of help, because it's kind of, once you've drank, you've had the alcohol in your system. The biggest thing is then to try to bring your body back to normal. And again, that's hydration and electrolytes, to kind of balance things out. But again, I don't think that there's a specific cure. I just think that there's things that you can do to kind of help your symptoms.
Excellent tips, probably for anybody. The next, it's more of a statement. The facts you state also help for those of us older, less metabolizing. I had no idea. Thanks.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, I'm sorry. You were going to say something. Go ahead.
Yeah, I think that that's again another the serving size, and then just not knowing that the metabolism of the breakdown of alcohol changes as you get older. Those are the always the two shockers of this talk. People really don't realize that again as you age, things start to slow down. And even I myself in putting this together was shocked by the composition. Older adults have less muscle and more fat, and that affects the way that things are broken down. That shocked me. That having a little bit more fat in your body would negatively affect the way that alcohol breaks down. And that's not to say fat in your body, such as like, the weight, but it's the ratio in your body between muscle and fat. That ratio changes. And even if you are 110 pounds, the ratio changes to be more fat than muscle. And again, that was just like a mind blown fact when I was making this talk.
That is fascinating, really. The next question. Differences between beer versus wine versus liquors or hard liquor like vodka or gin, Ari, the metabolism?
I think specifically alcohol is alcohol. So once it gets in your body, it kind of breaks down the same. The difference is how much it takes to get you there. Meaning, 2 shots of vodka may be enough to, make you feel a buzz, where because of the alcohol content in vodka, saying like, 40% alcohol content versus in a beer, it could be 5%. So yeah, I think that's the bigger thing. Alcohol is alcohol. And once it gets down in your body doesn't know the difference necessarily between wine, beer, vodka. It just knows that the difference is the amount of alcohol that you're taking in at once. Obviously, it would take much less vodka, to give you an effect versus a beer.
Right. Thank you. Next question. I appreciate the information about the size of a drink when you are dining out. I hadn't thought of that.
Yeah. And that was another thing. When I was looking at the chart that I showed with the different sizes of drinks, I sat there and I thought, wow, how many times do we go out to eat or go to social settings and you get a glass of wine and you're like, oh, this is great. I'm having a glass of wine before I go home. And it's like, yeah, 1 glass of wine, but 2 servings of wine. And it's not on the menu. That's what I always what I think is really interesting about all of this. If you want to know the alcohol content for a beverage, if it's in the packaging, it's like the tiniest writing at the bottom of the label. How would you know? You need a microscope to be able to read that. So yeah, I was mind blown by this. It's kind of like with food, if you have a bag of chips, you think that bag of chips is 1 serving, but then you turn around and look at the label and it's really 3.5. So yeah, I was really shocked by that as well.
Excellent. Thank you. Well, let's see. And then there's another comment. And so then when you meet with the medical provider, you tell them that you had 2 glasses when you actually had 4. So yeah, that difference.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, right.
Yeah. And again, it's information for you to have when you're in that setting. Now when you go and have a glass of wine that you're having 2 servings of wine, and that information, it's just for you to have. So again, maybe you will have that 1 glass of wine or 2 servings instead of having the 2 glasses or 4 servings.
Right, exactly. Excellent. Well, we'll give it just another minute if there's any more questions. But this has really been fascinating. We have another one. Is the most common medication/alcohol side effect an increased feeling of being intoxicated?
It's different based on the medication. Sometimes it is an increased feeling of intoxication. For example, if you were to mix something like a antidepressant or anti-anxiety med, and you take that and drink, it can give you like a compound effect that you would feel more intoxicated. Like I said, with Coumadin or anticoagulants, the effect more so is it increases your risk for bleeding. With hypertension, blood pressure meds, it's kind of twofold. One, alcohol can raise your blood pressure. So if you're trying to lower your blood pressure, it's kind of defeating, they're working against each other. And the other thing is that intoxication can mimic low blood pressure. So again, it's one of those situations where if you had a couple of drinks, you took your medication and now you feel woozy. Do you feel woozy because the alcohol you drank? Or is it that you're having a negative effect of your medication? Is your blood pressure too low? And that's why you're feeling woozy? Or is it because of the drinks you had? So different medications have different effects with alcohol. And it also all depends on where that medication is broken down and what we call excreted or taken out of your system. There's certain medications that happens in your liver, and there's other medications that happens in your kidneys. And again, depending on the medication, that would depend on what the effect of alcohol would be.
Huh, interesting. Thank you. Well, I think I don't think there's any more questions. Oh, and folks are saying thank you. So
welcome.
Thank you very much for your talk. And we appreciate the audience for joining us today for this. This was really insightful, and we appreciate your time and expertise.
Thank you guys so much for listening to the talk.